Just been a kind of like a slow week on my end. I don't even know what to do with myself a little bit. I've just been like waiting and waiting. So I'm just like going over books and reading as much content as I can so I can prepare myself. But it's it's been really boring. Yeah. Yeah. So, but right. It's like a forced yeah, it's like a forced vacation, you know. So I went to the beach this weekend and just kind of like got away from everything. But it's like I'm ready to get back to work, you know, and I'm just waiting on them. So cool. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna start so slow, you know, just to get my bearings back and stuff. Yeah, but right. But yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I guess now is a good time just to kind of go over quickly my trading plan um moving forward and at least, you know, putting it out there. Oh, what's up, Grandpa? Um,
Going.
put we were just gonna have like a quick meeting on anything random, you know, anything that you want to talk about, you know, it's all open for discussion. Um, okay, yeah, let's do that. We can go over the plan and then go over some trades. I won't have any trades this week, obviously, but we can go over whatever you saw or whatever Grandpa saw. So yeah, trading plan wise, I think the only new addition is that so yeah, I've just been working on my process. So I have a hardwired sort of system to handle and manage all of the risk and my exposure. Um, so like pretty much I'm trying to work on I have this term that I'm calling like risk exposure. And that's just pretty much keeping my trades, the amount of trades, right? If I'm trading one contract, I potentially can only lose $100 on that contract. If I'm trading two, I can lose $200. So on any given day, I don't want to expose my account to more than about 1% risk. Even if I don't take that 1% in one trade, over the course of all of my trades, I don't want more than 1% exposure. I can't lose more than 1% if I don't expose myself to more than 1%. And that alone keeps my equity curve and keeps my balance sheet in a healthy trend, even when I'm going through drawdowns. And, you know, it's like a slow market and stuff like that. And that keeps me on my hands, you know, because at a certain point, it's just like, I don't even feel like risking this. I'm just going to close shop for the day. And I think things like that are the difference in long term profitability. Um, I have this, I have a couple things. Let me see if I can share them. I'll try to share my phone screen so we can see them. Okay.
Yeah, let's
So
see.
you can see my phone screen, yeah?
Let's see. Okay, yeah. Yeah, now I can see.
Okay, cool. So I have a couple different ones. More related to this risk exposure is probably this tab. So this is a tab I use just for making like my mental models. And I set it up in a way where it's like, okay, if let's say I'm break even or in profit, then I'll go to this tab. And this basically describes uh, what I should or shouldn't be doing. So if it's like regular market open, I'll click neutral profit morning session. And when I open that up, pretty much it's just like, okay, your profit target is 1%. Your loss limit is a little less than 1%. And then I can basically say, let's say my first trade, I take 4 contracts. Cool. Now, if that first trade is a L, but I somehow break even, maybe I just pay some commissions on the break even trade. On my next trade, I can trade 4 contracts still if I'm under $100 drawdown. But let's say that doesn't go according to plan and I get stopped out at the full target. That means I would click that, and then on my trade 3, um, I would have the same sort of dynamic, right? So let's say the trade 2 wins, and I'm back at like negative 100. Now I can look here and say if my P&L is between, um, there's an error on this. I don't have 100 stated, but basically if it's between 100, if it's above 0, I can go back to 4. But if it should be 100 there. It'd be 3 contracts, right? So this just kind of helps me think about my contract sizing without having to use my conscious energy, right? Because it's a little bit of a distraction. If I'm setting up for my next trade and I'm having to decide, oh, is this a 2 contracts? Should I do 3? What should I do? It's like those couple seconds are seconds that I should be just focused purely on the price action. And this helps me kind of automize those types of decisions. So I use this tab for that. And then again, let's say I have a partial loss. I consider partial losses anytime I close up shop for the day and I don't have more than a 1% drawdown. So I have like a $300 drawdown or a $200 drawdown. I'll go to the partial loss. And then same thing, when I start up the next morning, I have the same sort of profit target structure. Then I look at trade 1. If that yesterday's drawdown is in between these values, I'll click, okay, 2 contracts. And if it wins, great, I can keep trading whatever. But if it loses, I got, the profile for that. So it just helps me automate that. And I think that's crucial brain power that isn't wasted trying to decide what my contract sizing is. So I use that tab. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean I like that. That's an interesting way of putting, kind of putting it and having it all down into like a plan. I don't think I've seen that before. So.
And I wish
how many trades you take a day, or just whatever the market gives you?
Does it determine how many trades I take? Is what you asked?
Yeah. Do you have a plan? Just how many trades? You say you make 4 trades, 5 trades, and then you quit after that?
Okay, so that kind of leads into what I was talking about before. I have a system of thinking about trades. So on any given day, I don't want to expose my account to more than 1% of risk exposure, right? I think of this term risk exposure as whether the trade wins or loses, me opening a position means I've exposed myself, if it's a 1 contract trade, to $100 of adverse risk. If it's a 2 contract trade, it'd be $200 of adverse risk, right? So on any given day, I don't want to expose myself to more than 1%. I'm trading a 50K account, so that's about $500. So I'll take my first trade. Usually my starting size is 2 contracts. Right off the bat, boom, that, 0.4 percent, right? So that's how I determine how many trades I take. Is I look at my day and I say, if I expose myself, whether I win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, once I get to 1% of exposure to the market, I'm done.
Okay.
And that kind of helps me because it's not about the trade, right? It's not about the result of any given trade. It's about exposing myself to risk. And the best thing we could do, right, is we want to expose ourselves to the most amount of upside potential while reducing the downside potential. And I think thinking of it in that way gives me that structure where I'm less attached to, did the trade win, did it lose, and I'm more considering, hey, on any given day, once you start trading more than 7 times a day or 5 times a day, I mean, at the end of the day, why are you trading more than 5 times a day? Are you just so in profit that you're just gonna keep going? That's probably okay. But more times than not, when you're taking that fifth trade, you're not in the profit. You're probably around break even or even a little bit worse than break even. Why are you still exposing yourself to risk? When you look at your balance sheet, those will be the days where you're in the uptrend on your equity curve, and then you have this huge markdown. You want to avoid your balance sheet looking like that, at least in my experience. I kind of think of it like, imagine if I had an account manager who every day looks at my performance. Whether I win or lose, that's not his job to decide. But what he's going to look for is, hey, why is your budget 10 times your normal budget today? What's going on? And that's what I'm trying to create these models for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like that. I kind of do. I mean, I don't do exactly what you're saying, but for me, it's more like something that I've been trying to do more of lately is just focusing on taking one or two good trades a day. And ever since I've been doing that, um, my consistency has gone up a lot. I mean, I'm not, if I'm taking a lot of trades, that's usually a sign that I'm probably over trading, and those typically are my worst days. So, or the days where I just
Yeah.
give back way more than I should. And so definitely focusing on just taking like the very best possible trades that I can take every day has really kind of put me like where I want to be at with my trading. So like I'm feeling really good with just taking one trade a day right now. I mean, that's helping me to be more consistent in the long run.
Yeah.
That's kind of my line of thinking too. My goal, I'm still kind of a newbie. You guys are way sophisticated than I am. I'm just trying to keep it simple. One or two trades a day, and sometimes I don't even take any trades. Just looking for the simple trades and just get in, get out.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
sometimes that one trade, if it's like like a plus setup or like your best possible scenario, then a lot of times you can get a decent runner on it, and you end up making a good sized profit on that one trade. Whereas if you continue to expose yourself to multiple trades, you might end up taking a loss in there, and then you just kind of end up at break even or in the negative, or where you would be had you just taken that one good trade. So,
Right.
and it's all relative to account size. The bigger your account gets, that bigger that one trade is going to get eventually. So you just I think the saying like less is more is definitely applies when it comes to trading. At least for me, it does.
That's been my experience.
Yep.
And that leads me to exactly what you said about that one trade and catching a runner. I think that's how you implement some of this stuff, is that as you develop your strategy and particularly your trade management, uh, you'll be able to put yourself in these situations where you can consistently catch runner for 4 points or maybe even more than that, right? And when you do that, it helps your psychology because you're able to work here. Uh, for staff only. Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay. Is it always like that? Sorry, guys. Hold up. Let me security is on my case. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I should just move. Is there another courtyard around here that I could chat? That's up to me. I live my brother stay here. Yeah. No, no stress.
Think he just got arrested.
Yeah. Hey, he said he was at the library, so he moved outside. I guess that wasn't Guess that wasn't the right spot.
Yeah, no. So I was trying to find a good courtyard where I could have this meeting because, talking in the library is kind of tough. So I found the perfect spot, but it's like for staff only, I guess. So
Oh,
he
well.
just like walked over. I was like, "Hey, do you work here?" And I was like, "I mean, trade management." Because once you kind of get to that space where, and the thing is, it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really about being like, oh, I'm so good. I catch runners, 75% of the time. Although you could. I think what it more so is about is that your management is set up in a way where, again, you limit your downside risk while exposing yourself to maximum upside potential. So, there's two ways to make more money, right? You're either going to scale in with more contracts, which essentially increases your risk and your exposure, or when your trades are working, you hang in there longer than normal. And so that's what I've been working on is that I have no I hang when I'm winning, I just hang in there and I just move
Nope. Think we might have lost you.
key zones, you know. Oh, you lost me?
Oh, it sounded like you cut out for a second, but
I can still hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's like I think that's been one of the major ways to, for me at least, to get myself in that space where I don't even feel like I need to trade more than a couple times a day. Because when I'm right, I'm gonna get the scout portion, and then I'm always working on how do I hold these trades? How do I hold these runners? And not just hold them at break even. I'm covering on the way up. Maybe this weekend or next week we can talk about runner management because when I look at a lot of traders, and it's nothing personal, it's no slight, it's just I have more experience. You know, there are a lot of ways to manage your runner so that when you do get that 5 point pop, you're not just guesstimating on, oh, should I be at break even still? Should I be at this? Where should I have my stop at this point? There are very high probability ways to cover your profits on runners based on pivots, based on closes above key levels, things like that, where you just let the probability do the rest from that point. It's like, hey, if it comes back and gets me, cool, but I've covered a significant event, and if this significant event continues, great. If it doesn't, I've still I'm still using I don't know the right word, but I'm still capturing this move because that's the worst, right? You have a runner and it comes back to break even, and you're just like, fuck, I should have took the scout. At least
right.
this method keeps that thought out of your head because hey, I covered the most I could have in this given environment. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I think
Max on one of his daily recaps was talking about runners, and he was saying that the advantage of his runners is that it recoups his losses,
yeah.
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting.
I look I look at
And
my
that's
runners a little differently now that I do one-to-one trades because I'm taking roughly 80 to 90% off at 2 points, and I just have roughly 10% or just one contract as a runner a lot of the time, and that I just feel a lot differently with my runners now versus when I did when I was trading for just 4 ticks. I feel like the runner is just kind of like I really don't care about it, to be honest. It just because I've already
Mhm.
made the 2 points, so the runner is just kind of like icing on the cake. I've already made pretty much a one-to-one on my trade, and everything else is just a bonus at that point. So
So when you get the 2 points, it's almost like taking two other trades.
yeah, I mean it's pretty much
Exactly.
I risk 2 points and then I make 2 points, and that's typically how I like to keep it. So that's another thing that's helped me a lot over the past few months. is just adjusting that risk to reward. For me, that just fits better.
Are you pretty consistent with the 2 points then? Or are you still in the
Yeah,
trial stage yet?
yeah. I mean, I'm using it every time now. So,
Oh, really?
unless the market is just really choppy or slow, I'll look for maybe 1.5, 6 ticks. But I don't like to venture lower than that. I typically, if it's lower than that, I typically won't take the trade if I don't see a potential for that amount.
'Cause there's a YouTuber, Thomas Wade, that goes, well, he's going for 8 right now, but he was going for 10 for the longest time. But he seems to make it pretty good. And he
Eight
takes it,
ticks
he's
or
same, no, yeah, eight ticks.
okay.
And he was taking 10, and he's got the same setup. He goes for max setup. He got a 2,000 tick and everything,
Yeah,
and he's pretty much the same. So it seems to be successful.
yeah. I mean, I think anywhere between that 6 to 10 range is kind of like the sweet spot right now. Obviously, the lower you go, the higher the chance you'll get it. But you know, I'm finding that majority of my trades go at least to those two, at least to 8 ticks. So
Yeah, me as well.
and then I have a break even stop at 7 ticks. So if it goes 7 and doesn't hit my 8 ticks, then and pulls back, then I get out at break even or break even +1, depending on how the trade setup looks.
Well, so if it goes 4 ticks, then you would move to break even just to make sure you don't have a losing trade, or would you leave your stop where it was?
No, I leave it until it hits 7 ticks of profit.
Oh,
So
okay.
if it, unless we just get something that just looks, horrible, and I see no reason to try and sit through that trade at all, then that'll be the only time I like adjust that rule. But on the chances of that happening are really extremely rare because I'm pretty picky with the setups that I take. So I have it set up to where it automatically goes to break even at 7 ticks. And there's
Yeah.
and if you watch one of my videos, there's actually an example of that where it went exactly 7 ticks and pulled back and stopped me out for break even. And it actually, if you go back to the chart and look at that exact setup, you'll see that it went exactly 7 ticks, pulled back, got me out for break even, and then actually traded higher. And had I just left my stop originally where it was, it would have been a full stop out versus just a break even trade. So that's kind of another like way of managing just risk management there. Because if it's going to go 80-90% to your target, there's really no reason you should be taking a loss on that trade, not a full loss.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trading 4 ticks, that's different because you don't want to go to break even at 3 ticks of profit because you're probably going to get stopped out, majority of the time. But if you're looking for like 2 points, if it goes 7 ticks in your favor, then I don't really see any point to take a loss on that trade at that point. But
Yeah, my
that's just how I do
strategy
that.
is I go break even +1 at 8 ticks. So I don't
Yep.
wait for it to click through. Once it touches 8, I'm at break even because I'm not going to risk one one tick through, the whole position on one tick through.
Yeah.
So I'm similar.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, I've heard a bunch of people say that, once it goes X amount, you want to, there's no reason to take a loss on it at that point. So it's just kind of personal preference, really, I guess. If you don't want to do that, obviously you should probably test it before you implement it. But that's just, for me, that's what fits the best for me. That's what I feel most confident doing. So. But yeah, I know a lot of people that were trading just I don't know, when I was trading just the 4 ticks, one, your win rate has to be a lot higher, and two, um, you almost really need to be more. Just your room for error is less. I mean, you almost need to be more picky on taking, trades that are not 1-to-1s or 2-to-1s or whatever. If they're, if you're making, half or a third of your risk every trade, then, you almost need to be more conservative with your trades in order to get those, higher quality setups. Otherwise, you're just going to be in the spin cycle of trying to catch up to your losers.
So which one would you say your high quality setups would be? Have you got that narrowed down?
Yeah, pretty much to, you know, second entries. I like lower highs. I like to trade. Let me word this differently. So second entries and key entry points. The signal bar has to be compelling, meaning it can't just be. It has to close in the upper 3/4 of the bar.
Okay.
Um, I always enter on limit orders, and then other than that, lower highs, traps. I like traps as well.
When you
And
do limit order, where do you put it? Do you put it one tick above the bar where you would the other one, or do you put it like say where the end of the bar is right there, or do you put it a tick below or above it?
I
If you know
try
what
to
I'm
keep my
saying.
risk. I try to keep my risk to about 8 ticks. So if once it gets over 8 ticks, I don't like to go over 10. 10 is like my limit. 8 is where I'm comfortable at. So if it's a big bar, I'll try and limit it to 10 ticks of risk. So my entry will be wherever 10 ticks from my stop would be, or 8 to 10 ticks. But generally, lately, it's just been 1 to 2 ticks behind putting it in front of the signal bar or the entry bar.
Okay.
So it's just been 1 or 2 ticks back, but
Yeah,
yeah.
because if it's one or two ticks, if it's say it's 2 ticks back, then Max has got to go what five to get his. So yeah, I can see where you can get your 7, 8 ticks then if you're backing off that way.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of limits your risk, and it
Yeah.
also allows you more room for the trade to go in your favor, so to speak. Because if you're just entering right in front of the signal bar, then you need to get those 4 ticks plus your 4 ticks from your entry.
Mhm.
So it's just one way to look at it. It just kind of that was kind of like the appealing part of doing limit orders is I can kind of just um, shave a little bit of that risk, and it kind of favors my reward a little bit better than trying to look for an additional 8 ticks in front of the signal bar. So I just it goes back to personal preference. That's just what I like to do, and I feel comfortable doing. And I find out that a lot of times I get filled anyways. There's not a whole lot of times that I don't get filled. I don't have the exact statistics on that, but occasionally it does happen though. Sometimes it'll come back and not pull back far enough, or come back and you'll get a no fill on it and it'll go without you. But to me, I'm okay with that.
Sounds good.
But yeah, I mean, I like trading ranges, second entries, lower highs, and I like traps, but context is a real big a real big part of it. So it's hard for me to say this and this, because sometimes the second entry doesn't look good in certain contexts, or sometimes lower highs or higher lows don't look compelling in certain environments. So context is a huge part of it. It's kind of just, if the trade screams, is basically like screaming at me to take it, then that's another factor in it. I've been doing this for so long. It's a lot of times you get a lot of times when I see like a good setup, I'll just have like a gut, like a really like overly confident like gut feeling about that setup, and those are the trades that typically are my better setups. So
Yeah, the right trades will tend to call your name. You'll just understand them.
yeah, you know it when you see it. It's like, man, I have to take this trade. And some people they trade a little bit more, and some people are more conservative like myself. Just less is more for me. So if I just find that one good trade, then that's I'm fine with that. And that's also why I'm trying to do this 100K account right now, um, because just that one trade is typically $500, $500. So 500, if I could make $500 a day, that would be that's kind of like the goal, to being able to kind of like transitioning into a full-time trader, or being able to actually make a living at that point off of it. But that's where a lot of people say, $500 a day keeps the day job away, and that's kind of where there's some truth to that. Not everybody lives. That may not work for some people, but for me, I could definitely live off $500 a day right now. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot of people that couldn't.
Yeah, unless you're in like crippling debt, 500 should get it done.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than enough. So, and then from there, it's just building and compounding. So that's why I wanted to start off with the 100K account at least, just because I don't when I'm trading when I'm trading lower than that, it just for in the back of my mind, that monetary value is always there, and I'm always like, well, I need to make the X amount, or this really isn't worth it in the long run, or it's going to take forever,
Yeah.
like so.
Right.
That's why I went with that 100. That's why I went with the 100K, because a lot of times in the past when I've done the smaller accounts, it's not that I couldn't do it. It's just that I've subconsciously like put that extra pressure on myself without even really realizing it a lot of the time, that I
It doesn't
need to make X amount, so
it doesn't feel like enough when you're trading underneath a certain size.
right, yeah. So I mean, I think that was one of the things that held me back for the
Um,
longest time, was trying to just trade a couple of contracts, and because in my mind I really want to be trading a lot more than that. So that's why I'm deciding to go the funded route again, because it'll be a little bit less pressure, and the risk, really your risk exposure isn't as much, because you're trading somebody else's money. So it just fits me better, and I find that I'm a lot more comfortable and calm with my trading, just trading that 100K account.
Yeah, Max he's recorded somebody's from the I think it's 3 consecutive trades, and he's did 40 contracts,
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
He says he keeps 100,000 in his account, and whatever he makes over that, he pulls out.
Yeah,
So there you
honestly,
go.
that
You can
was.
start doing 40 contracts now.
Yeah, I mean, you're making roughly, 4 ticks
There's
is.
a video on that.
Yeah, I think he uploaded one last week or 2 weeks ago
Yeah,
about that.
Wow.
he's done them a couple times. Usually he was doing 20 contracts, and then all of a sudden he upped it to 40.
Yeah, I asked Mac if that specific trader was doubling down after a loss because it seemed like a pretty big jump to to jump from 20 contracts to 40 contracts. So he said no. He just said that trader scales up when he feels more confident with his setups. So that was the response I got from that. But it kind of made me think, what is there anybody that is doubling down in order to make up for a loss? I mean, I would love to hear the statistics on that. I don't know. I feel like that would be a lot of pressure as well, knowing that you just doubled your contract size and the next trade is twice as important as the previous one that you just lost on. So
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
yeah, I don't know if I could mentally handle that kind of stress, trade to trade like that. And then if you go into a drawdown, I mean, my God, you're trading 4 times the amount
You
eventually.
started
So
with yeah.
I think there's like some kind of saying for that or name for that type of trading. It's like named after somebody.
Yeah, it's like Martingale.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
right. Where you just keep
it's a
doubling
Martingale
down till you get it
strategy.
right.
Right. If you're trading like small size, I think it could work. Again, you just have to think of your exposure. As long as by the time you get to that point, your exposure isn't like over 5%, 10%, maybe. But too often, if you're trading 1%, you know, after three losses, sheesh, you're 20% deep. It can get kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I can handle that. That'd be a lot. I'd probably snap on somebody if they walked in or I got a phone call or something while I was doubling down on my contracts.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the part where we insert the disclaimer about we're not giving trade advice here. trade at, trade at your own risk. We're not responsible. But yeah, I don't know. We kind of touched on like trading plans and stuff. I don't necessarily have a written down trading plan anymore, um, because I feel like me and Sean kind of talked about this last week, but I feel like my trading is more subjective, and I feel like everybody's trading is a little bit subjective unless you're trading like patterns or you know like really hard rolled strategies. But I feel like trading max or like a variation of it is more on the subjective side. We're doing a lot of like trend lines and different risk
Huh?
managements, and some of us are looking for bigger targets versus smaller targets. Some of us manage runners different, and so that's why I don't have I don't have hard rules. I just have hard rules for kind of my like the psychology side of things, like limiting risk, like max loss, limiting, just kind of like
Yeah, I just walk
risk
around.
per trade. Taking certain setups, but I don't necessarily have hard rules for those setups. I
Okay.
just,
Cool.
as far as entry points go, but yeah, I mean, my trading's a lot more subjective, so I don't have it written down, so to speak.
Appreciate you. Sorry, guys.
It's
Go
all
ahead.
good.
Well, I got to get going. I got a church meeting tonight, so we'll catch you maybe next week
All right.
if
Yeah,
you have
we'll
it
try and
early
come
enough.
up with we'll try and come up with some more ideas next week that we can kind of put together something
Yeah.
something a
As long as
little
it's not too late.
yeah.
Okay, we'll catch you later.
All right.
Okay, man.
See ya.
Till then.
But yeah, going back to the trading plan, I think mine is more like where I'm at right now in my trading. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Shut the door here. Where I'm at in my trading right now, I feel like completely confident in what I'm doing right now, and it's basically just because I've slowed down. I'm super focused when I come into the market every day, and I'm on top of my risk management, so to speak. So, I'm not over trading. I'm not emotionally trading. Um, Even though I had a trade today that it was a winner, but I chalked it up as kind of a mistake. But it was because I tried to limit in on the trade, but price jumped back and hit my limit before I could even adjust it. Like I wanted to have it float. I wanted to have it floating, and I was just going to drop it in, but it re
Oh, I see.
yeah
Yeah.
it retraced 4 ticks and hit me as soon as I clicked sell limit order, and so I was in the trade like immediately, and I didn't even have time to catch it on the recording, the entry point. But
One of those lucky mistakes.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't a horrible trade, but I definitely did not go through the mental process that I normally do before taking that trade. I kind of rushed into it, and so that's probably the only emotional trade that I've had the past couple of weeks, which is good. So and instead of continuing to trade after that, I just called it quits, which is something the old me wouldn't have done. I probably would have kept trading and then ended up giving that back or doing something else that was silly or not something I should have done. So
Yeah. That's good though. I mean, just knowing your limits, and when we get lucky, hey, take it. Fuck it.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Hispanic.
for me, it's let me see.
What you getting?
For me, it's more of just like being like hypersensitive to like being aware of like how I'm trading, how I'm feeling, how I'm managing trades, and how I'm seeing the market. Like I kind of take all of that and put it into like I just can constantly like reassess that with myself as I'm trading. And then some of the hard roles that I do have are like time constraints. Like I stop at I have to stop at an hour and a half after market open, like no matter what. Don't trade after that. That's typically not a good time for me to trade. So I'm just like constantly like have these little things, and they're all just kind of like risk management, so to speak. But it's more
Right.
of just for me, like just being aware and just constantly like reminding myself or going like running everything through my head. Just kind of assessing like where I'm at in my trading at that specific point in the day. It kind of keeps me on point, and that keeps me from doing stupid stuff. So that's kind of been like the main difference for me the past month or so, really.
Yeah.
And that's really helped to kind of turn my trading around for the better. So I'm taking less trades, but I'm getting more consistent results, which is the goal. So
And it's a paradox. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I should do more to make more, but
yeah,
really, it's if you can do less more correctly, that's where you're gonna be the best off.
yeah, and I think that's where I used to mess up for years is trying to trade these small accounts and trying to make X amount on these accounts just because, just because I felt like I needed to, and that's,
Yeah.
that's like I think that's just like a horrible cycle to get into. And a lot of people fall victim to that because, a very small percentage of us come into the market with a lot of money, tens of thousands or 20, 30, 50,000 or more dollars to start trading with. A lot of us just don't have that. So we're trading from like a small account and we're expecting to get big results, and that's a horrible mindset and cycle to get into. You'll never really find consistency trading from that mindset.
None. That's good though, man. That's what we're doing. That's what we're building.
So I recorded this, so just so you guys know, I probably should have said that before we started this, but I recorded it.
Yeah, you should have, but I'm cool with it.
So that's I think we covered some good stuff. We kind of covered the trading plan and then a little personal tidbits here and there, but
Right.
maybe we'll get some more ideas for the next one. I'll put out some feelers in the Discord for any ideas that people may have. So
Yeah, maybe we could think of some topics between now and Friday that we could talk about next Wednesday, and then